Sunday, May 14. The Judgment, Creation and Accountability. If we are merely a collection of randomly formed cells, simply the product of chance and an advanced African ape, nothing more, then life has little meaning. If we are merely one of the estimated 8 billion people clawing at one another for living space on a planet called Earth, life loses its purpose other than mere survival. In contrast, the biblical creation provides a reason to live and a moral imperative for living. We have been created by God and are accountable to Him for our actions. The one who made us holds us responsible. He has established absolutes even in a world of moral relativism. Read Revelation 14 verse 7, Romans 14 verse 10, and James 2, 8-13. What does judgment imply about such issues as accountability and responsibility? How are the judgment, the commandments of God, and worship linked? Revelation 14 verse 7, saying with a loud voice, "Fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment has come, and worship Him who made heaven and earth, the sea and springs of water." And Romans chapter 14 verse 10, "But why do you judge your brother? Or why do you show contempt for your brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Christ." And James 2 verses 8-13. If you really fulfill the royal law according to the Scripture, you shall love your neighbour as yourself. You do well. But if you show partiality, you commit sin and are convicted by the law as transgressors. For whoever shall keep the whole law and yet stumble in one point, he is guilty of all. For he who said, "Do not commit adultery," also said, "Do not murder." Now, if you do not commit adultery, but you do murder, you have become a transgressor of the law. So speak and so do as those who will be judged by the law of liberty. For judgment is without mercy to the one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. The message of the three angels flying in mid-air in Revelation 14 announces that the hour of His judgment has come in verse 7. Since we were created by God with the capacity to make moral choices, we are responsible for the decisions we make. If we were merely a random collection of cells, products of our heredity and environment only, our actions would largely be determined by forces over which we have no control. But judgment implies moral responsibility. In this crisis hour of Earth's history, the judgment hour, God calls us to make decisions in the light of eternity. The first angel's earnest appeal to worship Him who made heaven and earth, the sea and the springs of waters, in verse 7, acknowledges that the basis of all worship is the fact that we were created by God. Meanwhile, our adherence to the seventh-day Sabbath demonstrates our belief that Jesus is worthy to be worshipped as our Creator. It reveals our acceptance of His Ten Commandment law as divinely inspired principles for living life to the fullest. Because the law is the foundation of God's government and a revelation of His character, it becomes the standard of judgment. Our faithfulness to the Sabbath commandment is acknowledgement of our commitment to live obedient lives. And so to finish today, how does our understanding of creation influence our behaviour? What relationship do heredity and environment have to the choices we make daily? How can we, by God's grace, overcome character defects that we didn't choose to have in the first place? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.